Are we live? Can people hear me? Because I don't see the feed on Facebook. Oh, there we go. All right. Good? All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Jordan Ostroff with Legalese Marketing, and this is Exhibit A Attorneys, where we interview attorneys and other experts across the country to find out what it really takes to be the Exhibit A of a successful attorney. Joining me today, Shiobhan Olivero, and if anybody can't pronounce your name from reading it, I don't blame them, I guess, because it took me a long time and I could have to write it out, and I hope I got it right this time.
You did.
All right. Awesome. So Shiobhan joins us all the way from the Tampa St. Pete area in Brandon.
Yep.
All right, nailed it. As a trial lawyer practicing high-level criminal defense and family law and divorce in Florida. She's also a certified divorce coach, setting her firm apart from others in the area of bringing a coaching piece to her law practice to help her firm's clients through the emotional aspects of divorce. As an experienced trial attorney, business owner, adjunct professor, mentor, coach, speaker, mother, and just genuinely awesome person, Shiobhan's a powerhouse in the industry. She brings her unique perspective and experiences into her speaking, her mentoring, and her coaching programs. In addition to delivering persuasive arguments to juries, she's delivered presentations at schools, business conferences, leadership conferences, legal seminars, classrooms, workshops, you name it. With the powerful tools delivered through her presentations and coaching, Shiobhan wants to help and inspire her audience and clients to be the best people they can be so that they can lead a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled life. As you all know, that speaks deep into my heart. She's been featured on both national and local TV, as well as local news publications in the Tampa area. Shiobhan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
So today we're going to talk about ecosystem merging and doing collaborative speaking engagements to help grow your network. But before we dive into that, our last episode was a 2020 recap. So our best of, highly suggest check it out. You will see the show evolve over time, as well as hear the best, or at least our favorite insight from a bunch of our guests who have graced our stage so far. And then with that, Shiobhan, what did I miss? What more? Tell us more about your story.
Tell you more about my story. I don't know if you missed anything. That pretty much covered everything that I do.
Good, I'm glad.
So I was a paralegal for 10 years before I went to law school. So I've been in the legal industry just over 20 years total. I've been an attorney over 10. I went to law school as a single mom. And my son was 6 years old when I went to law school. He's now 20. You saw him right before we went live. And so I went to law school as a single mom. My son was 6 years old. And that's one of the reasons, too, that I chose to bring in the certified divorce coaching into the family law side of it, too, was because I've been through divorce and I went to law school as a single mom. And so I really want to help people also see that the things that you're going through in life, because, the other piece of my practice is criminal defense. And so both of those things are two highly stressful, highly, overwhelming and areas of your life. But especially for divorce, that it can be a beginning and it's not an ending. And it's just, there's something more that you can do with your life as long as you focus forward and see it as a beginning.
And I always love the stories that you tell between like the attorney side and the coaching side and how that sort of changed you as a person. So can you give everybody insight? Because I think a lot of more attorneys I can foresee in the future adding some of that coaching side, getting some of those certifications to better understand their clients' plights.
So I will say that, becoming a certified coach has actually helped me to become a better attorney. And I don't mean a better attorney so far as like in the courtroom, because it doesn't necessarily change what I do in the courtroom. I just mean a better attorney for my clients that are sitting in front of me, to be a better listener for them. And what I always tell people is, it's so funny, is that for 8 years before I became a certified divorce coach, my client sitting across from me, I always told them, like, no, I am your non-emotional piece, right? I'm not here to coddle you. I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm not here to be your shoulder to cry on. I'm your non-emotional piece to this part. And so I'm going to get you from A to Z and get you divorced. And, that worked for a lot of people, but some people needed a softer fill for that. And so what's funny was when I was getting my coaching certification and the divorce coaching, my mentor kept telling me, you're great at coaching and you've got the coaching pieces down, but I really need to see more, empathy, be that hand holder and that shoulder for them to cry on and coddle them a little bit. And I just lost it. And I started cracking up in that session. And she's like, what? I'm like, you have to understand that for 10 years, I've told people that's what I'm not. So, it's kind of flipping into this personality that I know I have, but that I've suppressed in 10 years of my career, to really bring that empathetic and compassionate side. And I've always had that empathy and compassion, but I've always been just like, nope, we're going to look at this from, A to Z. And so what's great then is that now I can tell clients and look at them to go, okay, right now I'm going to give you the lawyer hat and we're going to talk about this from a non-emotional side from A to Z. And then I'm going to put on a coaching hat and we're going to walk through what those emotions are. And let's talk through that and let's really work through those things. So being able to actually bring that into them now and help them work through the emotional side of that, right? Why do you want to keep the house so much? Right? Because that's the emotional aspect of it. And sentimental value doesn't pay the mortgage. So we've got to work through that and really figure out, what does that mean to you? And then what obstacles are there? And what can we do what other options do we have? And what can we do to work through those things?
So I guess my question is, do you think that I guess let me start here. Do you think that everybody who does family law should become certified? Or if not, what are the sort of people or the situations or feelings the attorney should have that lets them know, like, hey, this may be a good thing for me to add to my repertoire?
I think it's certainly a benefit if somebody chooses to get certified to be able to bring that in and have that extra piece to add in for your clients. But coaching, not everybody's a good coach, right? And coaching's not for everybody. So, and I can tell you that, for my personal clients, I bring in both pieces, right? But if somebody comes to me strictly for coaching, then I am solely a coach. And I tell clients that I am not a lawyer. I won't give you legal advice. I mean, I am a lawyer, but I'm not going to give you legal advice. I'm not your lawyer. And I'm not going to give you a second opinion to what your lawyer tells you. I am strictly a coach. And I do for one of two reasons. One, I don't want to cross those lines. But two, I want other lawyers to know that you can send your clients to me and I'm not here to coach your family law clients, right? I'm literally here I'm here as a coach to make them a better client for you, right? So that they're not sitting in your office for 4 hours crying and you're trying to work through that while you're trying to work through their divorce. Like, I can work through those emotions with them so they come to you in shorter sessions, already knowing what they need to know, what questions they have and what they want, and and what they need to go over with you as the attorney. And so but that also helps me in my own practice with my own clients, right? Because I tend to have much better meetings now with my clients as I'm able to work through those issues with them. And then we're also able to have a strategy session once we work through those issues.
All right. So I want to dive into the nitty gritty, but before I do that, I want to highlight something that you wrote before we settled on this being the topic, which I just loved.
Okay.
So for those of you that don't know, before this show, we sent our guests, I don't know, half a dozen questions or so, just to sort of get the creative juices flowing. So the most important advice from Siobhan was, don't do it alone. No matter what it is that you want to do, you're not alone. No one has to go through anything alone. There are people that do believe in coaching, mentoring, guiding, helping others. Find a good mentor or coach. And obviously, she can talk more about that. And so it was interesting that from that became, let's talk about this ecosystem merger. Let's talk about doing these collaborative discussions. And because I think a lot of people look at the don't go it alone from the business side, but there's also the don't go it alone from the marketing side. Mm-hmm. And so, tell us a little bit more about what we're going to talk about for the rest of this conversation.
Yeah, so over the rest of the conversation, we were talking about ecosystem merging and then collaborative speaking engagements. And so, to follow that up on the don't do it alone, I think we as business owners get into a very lonely world sometimes, right? Because we get so bogged down in our business, and if things aren't going right, I think we get to a point where we're afraid to share that, which is why I've started doing a lot of the lives and speaking engagements and things that I do on businesses and helping business owners, because it's like, look, you're not alone. We've all made mistakes. We all have tough times. We all have tough weeks. We all have tough months, and it's okay. Reach out to people because we all go through it, and to collaborate and to be able to have other people that can help you work through those times, get you out of your own head, I mean, that's what coaching is all about, right? Getting you out of your head and helping you look at what you need to overcome and what you need to do. So that is, don't do it alone. Nothing in life we should be able to do alone. There's always somebody that we can rely on. Personal side, business side, relationship, there's always somebody that you can rely on. So don't really do anything in life alone. But that tangent aside, then what we were talking about is ecosystem merging and collaborative speaking engagements. And so what I mean by ecosystem merging, and this is terminology that came to me through a program that I'm in, right? Obviously, I am a firm believer in coaching. And as a coach, I believe that you're a better coach when you have a coach. So I have coaches and I have multiple coaches. That came from my coach, Sean Callagay, through the program that I'm in called Unblinded. And it's just language that he uses when we're talking about ecosystem merging. And you think about ecosystem into its most general form, an ecosystem is just a group of things, a group of organisms, a group of people, a group of things working together in some common goal. So then when we're looking at people, like right now, the three of us on this call are an ecosystem, right? And the people that we're going live to, that's an ecosystem that we're in. And like bar associations or chambers of commerce, your college class, all of those things are just ecosystems of people. And so what you want to do when you're looking at business growth and you're looking at collaboration is find somebody else who has some ecosystem. And it's preferably an ecosystem that you want to get in front of. So, Jordan and I do many things together because I've got a base of ecosystem and, people in my network of people that he wants to get in front of. And he's got people in his network and his ecosystem that I want to get in front of. And so what we've decided to do is we have come together and done an ecosystem merger, right? We have partnered together. And then what that looks like then leads to the next thing, which is for us, those collaborative speaking engagements, right? So I'm going to get on his speaking platform and he's going to get on my speaking platforms. And at some point, or we're going to create one together, which we've done, which I think we're going to talk about here in a minute, that we've created together as well, to get in front of each other's ecosystems so that I can bring value to his, he can bring value to mine. And that is how you get explosive growth into your business, because you're getting in front of more people at one time and bringing that value, as opposed to like one-on-one networking where you're speaking to one person at a time. And it's going to take you a heck of a lot longer to grow and scale your business meeting with one person at a time, as opposed to creating valued speaking engagements and speaking platforms with somebody else so that you can then double or triple the amount of people that you're in front of at one time. You're muted.
Thanks.
The
Sorry.
catchphrase of 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
But
No, so they are they're doing construction literally everywhere around my office. I have to take like 4 different ways to work now, but they were drilling right next to me before. Anyway, so when we're talking about the ecosystem merging, if that's not in the form of the collaborative speaking engagements, what are some other ways to merge ecosystems that are different?
Well, it can be pretty much anything that you need. Maybe you need somebody to invest in your business, right? So you're looking at forming an ecosystem merger or a partnership with an investor. I am, forming an ecosystem merger with another law firm where I'm becoming of counsel to them to, bring something that they do in another state down here to Florida that's not done. And, so we are merging ecosystems in the space of, a law firm and merging just as of counsel that could ultimately turn into a different ecosystem merger and go different ways. But ecosystem merging is just partnering with somebody else for whatever that looks like for you and where that leads. In the course of generally just kind of growing and expanding your business, we look at it more in terms of collaborative speaking engagements. I bring people to mine, you bring people, I bring people, you bring people, and we grow it from there. But it really could be anything that you need. Like, so partnerships in business, investments, I don't know, that's the 2 things that come to my head right off the top, but you kind of can see where it's going from there. So
Makes perfect sense. So, I mean, like, I guess let me phrase the question this way. Obviously, like, I would love to have Gary Vee on this show, but I don't know that Gary Vee cares to come on the show. So when it comes to merging those ecosystems, is it okay if you have a power imbalance, or do you need to get people that are similarly situated, have similar influence? I don't even know what the right wording is.
Well, I think that looking at things as a power imbalance is almost kind of a limiting belief that you're looking at. So,
Okay.
because you have to start to look at it of, what do I have? Is there value that I can bring? For instance, if you're going to go say for Gary Vee, is there value that I can bring to Gary Vee's audience, right? It's about a value shift, not about the amount of followers that each other has, right? It's about the value that you can bring in that partnership.
Makes perfect sense. I love that. What a good subtle mindset shift, but obviously it does change the viewpoint there. And so, what are there best practices to create these ecosystem mergers? Before it gets to the actual collaborative speaking engagement or partnership or what else? I mean, what advice do you have for people in finding other ecosystems to potentially merge with?
Well, I think that first you need to know what the point of that collaboration is, right? So, and sometimes maybe I think sometimes maybe it's just the two of you getting together to go, we know we want to partner, but we don't know what that looks like yet, and let's brainstorm what that looks like, and that's so perfectly okay to do. But when you do that, you need to know what the outcome is for that partnership, for what that agreement is, whether that's a speaking engagement or an investment or, merging businesses, whatever that is. But you need to know what the ultimate outcome is. And so if I look at it in terms of a speaking engagement, and it's exactly kind of like what you and I did, Jordan, it's, what is our outcome? Who's my avatar? Who's your avatar? Are they are they mixing well? And does my base have people that you want to get in front of? And do I have your avatar? Or do I have the people that service your avatar? More importantly, right? I think that's almost more important than me being in front of the right avatar, right? And does your ecosystem include the right referral sources that do business with my avatar? Right? Because that can even be an even bigger thing. And then from there, somebody could see that, oh, maybe I want to do a speaking engagement with, maybe somebody watching this could be like, oh my God, I want to do a speaking engagement with her. Somebody watching from my end can be like, Jordan would be amazing to have onto my program, right? So then we're just building that collaboration out. And then of course, if somebody sees what we do, then they can call us up to, talk to us about doing business as well.
So from that lawyer perspective, I mean, obviously, I think there are some that jump out immediately. Your estate planning attorneys with your financial professionals, your real estate attorneys with mortgage brokers and realtors, whatnot. For you, from the family law perspective and or from the criminal perspective, I mean, who are some of those best referral sources, centers of influence, ecosystem, referral partners, whatever it is that you want to call them, that make the most sense for people who practice the areas of law that you practice?
We'll focus on the family law standpoint, because criminal is so, as you know from having previously done it, there's not really many people don't go out in the public and be like, oh my God, I'm charged with, the significant felony, right? So those come to you from some pretty discreet ways sometimes. Or most of my stuff is actually court appointed, because I do the higher level felonies for criminal defense. But so from the family law perspective, for me, the best referral sources are the licensed professionals. So real estate agents, financial planners, accountants, other attorneys, any other practice attorneys. I actually have other family law attorneys that refer me stuff, because I do the entire spectrum of family law. So what I mean by that is that I do injunctions, and not every family law attorney does injunctions, but I do injunctions for against domestic violence and stalking or any of those. I also handle the criminal side of it, right? So if they have a domestic violence charge against them, and if they're going through the divorce or the paternity action or any of that, so I can handle the full spectrum. So I get many family law attorneys that refer something that has like that full spectrum to me, because it's better to have one attorney handling all of that than to get three different attorneys for those things. So it's those licensed professionals are great referral sources and other people to look at. But I'm also an advocate of, don't just focus in those things, because some of my best ecosystem mergers and collaborative speaking engagements, and even some of my best referral sources, have come from places that I wouldn't have thought of, and people that I wouldn't have put as like in that type of, I wouldn't put them in the box, right? They were from outside the box.
So then is there, obviously, so the common thread is not, their job or something like that, but is there a common thread between those people that have turned out to be great referral sources? Are they better speakers? Are they more connected? Is it just happenstance? I mean, what have you found to be super helpful from that perspective?
I think they're more connected, and business owners, right? So even if they're not licensed professional business owner, when I say the licensed, of course, I mean like the attorneys and the accountants and the people that need specific licenses to practice. But even just, a general business owner that is well connected into the community is another great partnership to have because they know a lot of people. They're a great ecosystem to be involved in.
Excuse me, makes perfect sense. So as we move from the sort of what is that merger look like, how to find them, into some more of the nuts and bolts of doing that, anything else you want to add on that sort of mindset search side of it?
It's really, I mean, it's really just reaching out and going through. And I know when I first started, it was like, where do you start? I don't know that I don't have anybody. And for me, it was also getting past that mindset shift of I don't have anything valuable to say, right? To bring to these partnerships. But really, that's not true, right? So that was getting out of that limiting belief and getting out of my head because I do have value. And so if that is where you're at right now, for anybody watching, that you're just like, well, that sounds great, but I'm just starting and I've only had a business for 3 months, but you have life experience behind you for all of that time and you have something valuable to say that you can bring into that partnership.
So, it's interesting that you phrase it that way, because I know we always have that, maybe it's imposter syndrome, maybe it's not, maybe it's that unequal balance I was talking about before. But the longer that I do this, the more I've found that 99% of the time, like, the guest is just as happy to be on as you are to have the guest, or vice versa. Like, I've gone on podcasts where, like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, I was hard up for a guest. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe so-and-so wants to interview me. And I hope the feeling's, somewhat mutual, because it's interesting to see how much, I guess, mutual appreciation you get from being a guest and having a guest.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So now I want to switch into those actual, whether it's writing blog posts for each other, whether it's going on each other's podcasts, whether it's doing a clubhouse room or something together, any tips, tricks, best practices about the actual, I guess, event itself?
Just pick a date and do it.
I love that. Yeah.
People get too stuck in the let's get on the phone and plan and plan and plan and plan and plan. And 6 months later, you don't have anything done. It's just pick a date and do it. And you get better at it and you change your processes and you work with it as you go through it, right? But if it's a one-off like webinar that you're doing, I think you pick a date and then you've got a date on the calendar that you need. And then it's what's the goal? Okay. So like, let's say Jordan, you and I are going to do like a one-time webinar on, whatever, and we're going to be like, okay, it's in 30 days from now. Great. Our outcome is that you're going to bring 10 people and I'm going to bring 10 people. Great. What's the next outcome? Your marketing team is going to put out this piece and I'm going to put out this piece. And that's what we're going to do to promote it. And so, but it's just to pick a date and have it there and then build everything else and up through that date.
So in essence, you're sort of working backwards from the deadline, if you will,
Yeah.
with being the event.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that so much, because I always think it's funny. Like, you get the expression, good gets in the way of great, but then I always think great gets in the way of getting anything done. And so I love that your advice was get it set. And obviously,
yeah,
you walk the walk. We've been doing we've done one clubhouse chat so far. We'll do another one this Thursday. And really, it was like, all right, does Thursday at 5:30 Eastern work for your calendar? Yes, great, it's booked. I got a meeting next week, so we'll do it 2 weeks out. And we've been able to get quite a bit of people and have some fun at least the first one. We'll see what goes from there.
Yeah, and it took me a long time and a lot of coaching to get out of, I think, especially if it's a lot of attorneys that are watching, to get out of that perfectionist mindset, right? And it took me, I can't even tell you how many times a coach has told me, good is good enough. And I'm like, no, good is not good enough. Like, I don't even understand, like, that doesn't even compute to me. And it's so funny how many times I hear myself now saying that as a coach to people, like, good is good enough. Just get it done. Pick a date. Go. Like, it's time. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing. Like, I look at it from the standpoint of like a play, right? Like, if this is going to be the play that gets recorded, that becomes the soundtrack, that becomes the video, that becomes the movie, whatever it's going to be, like, that's not going to be day one. That's going to be play 150 when everybody's gotten so great at it. But most of what we're doing really is going to be just that random, matinee show. Yes, it's a podcast that's there forever or whatever it is along those lines. But like, for the most part, you're not going to do this first collaboration as your $10,000 course. that you're selling.
Well,
You're going to
but
dry run a lot of
also,
these things.
but also, even if you are, I still think that good is good enough because people relate and people, what's the word that I'm looking for? My brain doesn't work sometimes when I'm looking for words, but they really respond to authenticity, right? So
Yes.
if you're trying to record something and you're trying to get it perfect, I think you're going to lose sales, right? And that was where I got stuck, right? I was so scared to do lives and so scared to go on podcasts and so scared to go on these national news places that I started to go on because I'm like, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I get the law wrong? What if all of this stuff? And then I started watching things and I'm like, that attorney didn't say the right, that is not what the law says. And then I'm like, what am I so worried about? People are on there all the time. Like, but so it's the authenticity. It is the screwing up. It is stumbling over your words. It is, you know, just forgetting words that are coming to your head, like, you know, what happens to me, because people really respond and relate to the rawness and the authenticity, not the perfectionist.
Yeah, and in the, look, we're in 24-hour news cycles, right? So out of the hundreds of thousands of hours of radio and television and whatnot, like how many incidents go viral for a bad reason? One,
Mhm.
two, 10, whatever it is along those lines. And usually, the ones that go viral is like the crazy person who tied their boat to two palm trees when there's a hurricane coming, or whatever it is along those lines. Like you knew going in this was this is going to be crazy. It's not normally the professional who happens to trip over their words once or twice.
Right.
So I love that. What other guidance, insight, wisdom do you have on this? I mean, we've got it scheduled, we're working backwards, we've got our outcomes, and then what?
I think it's, again, just don't overthink it. It's when I'm putting stuff together, like I have a weekly show that I do with somebody every single Tuesday. And I've had multiple weekly shows that I've done with multiple people. So if anybody's seen on my page, you see that I do them with multiple people. And it's literally just don't overthink it. We have a shared Google sheet where we just have a brainstorm of ideas, right? Like here's some ideas of topics that we can talk about for this weekly show. And we pop onto the Zoom link 5 or 10 minutes early and go, what's the 3 points that we want to make on this topic? Let's make sure we hit those 3 points. But then it's just, let's talk and let's keep it casual and let's be relatable and let's be authentic. And that's really just, so you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to be in that, I've got to have everything planned out and everything typed out and the script made, because people just want to see the real.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know like I always talk to people that do these things, and a lot of them are like, do I need improv lessons? And I'm like, no, it's not really improv. Like it's just you're sharing your life. You're genuinely answering a question that you've probably been asked 100 times, and it's okay to have, a slightly different answer, or, whatever you happen to have going on that day, to that be the example that you use, or whatnot along those lines. So yeah, no, I've never had the problem of overthinking anything in my life, but so I'm right there with you. All right. So as we get towards the end, any other things that you want to make sure that we cover?
I think that we've covered just about everything as far as it relates to ecosystem merging and those collaborative speaking engagements and just getting out there and doing it. Don't be afraid. Reach out to people because just like you said, Jordan, they're going to be just as excited that you've asked to come on as they are going to, as they're going to be to have you come on there, as you're going to be to be on there. And just get up there and do it. Know that you have value to bring and just go out there and share what you have to share.
All right. So Breezy just dropped the Clubhouse link. That's for our Thursday at 5:30 Clubhouses. What other weekly shows do you have going on, and how else can people stay in touch with you?
So I actually do daily Facebook Lives on my page. So if you are, I don't know if I'm tagged, I haven't went on Facebook to see if I'm on there or not, but so Siobhan Olivero is where you can find me. And so I actually go on there every single day live for my show, Logically Speaking, where I am dropping some Florida law tips and things on that. I do a weekly show every Tuesday at 5:30 with Nancy Benitez, who is also a relationship coach. And so we bring some of the relationship and divorce coaching to you. I do a weekly show every Wednesday at 5:30, the Real Raw Open, where we have business owners come on where they are real and vulnerable. And we learn how influence is a superpower and how we can increase our influence skills with people that we are trying to bring value to. And I had some other ones, but they are kind of on pause right now. But so otherwise, just look for me daily. But that's where you can find me predominantly is on Facebook. I have an Instagram and a LinkedIn page, and of course my website, oliverolaw.com.
And so, just to give you an extra shout out from a dad joke lover to a good pun lover, or whatever you want to call yourself, so logically speaking is LAWGIC.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
ALL. Yep.
So
Logically.
I saw that. I'm one of the first ones that you posted, and I was just like, oh my god, what a great name! And I've never heard that one before. As much as you get all the lawyer puns, so I think that's fantastic. All right,
Thanks.
so
I was pretty proud when I came up with it. I'm like, wow, that's one of the few brilliant ideas I've had.
hey, it only takes one or two, right?
Only takes one or two. Yeah.
All right, so our next episode will be on Thursday. Rebecca Bonington's going to be on to talk about how to build a world-class law firm. That will be on Thursday at 1:30 Eastern Time. Rebecca will be joining us from across the pond in the UK. Fantastic. All right, and so now, Siobhan, before I let you go, I want that one last golden nugget, diamond piece of wisdom. If somebody's been listening to this podcast or Facebook live show, depending upon how they're engaging with our content, for the last 35, 40 minutes, and they remember nothing, what is the biggest takeaway? What is the most important thing? What is the true tip to become the Exhibit A of a successful attorney?
As far as what we've been talking about on that tip, it's just the pick a date and go. Stop planning. You don't need any more planning. Just go and get it done.
All right. And then putting that aside, just not worried about ecosystem merger, just the biggest piece of advice you want to give to as many attorneys as possible so that they can be successful and happy and well-adjusted, it would be?
So it would be to work on those skills of the influence and the rapport building and the compassion, and really being able to listen to your clients. As attorneys, we like to talk a lot and hear ourselves talk, and our clients just want to be heard. So remembering that your clients want to be seen and heard and understood, and that what they say matters, just remembering that and listening to your clients.
And that is such a strong point, because I've not that I necessarily have been thinking about your specific answer, but I've been thinking about exactly why you, like, what you framed there. Because like there's so much content out there. We have access to Google with the answer to every question that any person has ever had. And so like I find myself thinking like, what's the most important thing to focus on? And I think what you said is totally dead on. Like that influence, those soft skills, the listening stuff, like that's what you need in the moment. That's what you need in that second. Business decisions and long-term, the big question and answers, you can Google, you can think, you can meditate on, you can, sleep on it. But what you talked about, I find to be some of the most important things, because it has to be like in that snap, in that moment, during that conversation, during trial, during that witness's testimony, whatever it is along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Then with that, if people want to hear more from Siobhan, you've got the Shiobhan Olivero Speaks Facebook link that we have here, as well as this Thursday, every Thursday, 5:30 Eastern on Clubhouse. We'll be chatting about different things to help build and grow a great law firm.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Exhibit A Attorneys. If you're interested in becoming the Exhibit A of Successful Attorney, please check us out at legalesemarketing.com, EASE.